This Thursday, May 24th meeting of the Wichita Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. And can we have the public announcement, please?
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. Copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and Planning Department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby of this conference room. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representative to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please write your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the lobby. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please sign in on that same sheet. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available in the lobby. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to district court.
Okay, with that, we will move forward and I will ask for a motion for approval of the minutes.
Moved. Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. McKay and a second by Mr. Daly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, moving on to consideration of subdivision committee recommendations for item number 21, sub 2018 00010, one-step final plat, Kansas Food Bank Warehouse, second edition. Would anybody on the commission like to hear this case? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? We'll take that on consent. Item 22, sub 2018 00011, one-step final plat for Edgewater third edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Is anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Okay, we'll take that on consent. Sub 2018 00012, one-step final plat, Village Charters third edition. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? If not, is there anybody from the audience that would like to hear this case? Okay, we'll take that on consent. And I would entertain a motion to take these items on consent.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Green and a second by Mr. Florence. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. On to public hearing vacation items. First item up is item 3.1, VAC 2018 00010, city vacation of a platted easement to allow for building permits to be issued for an existing garage on property zone SF5 single family. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? Take that on consent. Agenda item 3.2, VAC 2018 00011, county vacation of a portion of platted access controls minimum pad elevation to allow a wider opening to the home site on property zone rural residential. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear this case? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear this case? If not, we'll take that on consent. And I would entertain a motion to take those items on consent.
So moved. Second.
So I have a motion by Mr. Warren, a second by Mr. Daly. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Public hearings. Agenda item number 4, case number CUP 2018-00019. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case?
I just have a staff question on that.
Okay. Is there anybody from the audience that would like to hear that case? No? Do you want to go ahead and ask your question? Is that, can he?
Yeah,
ahead and
why
ask
don't we
his
go,
question?
I can right now if you'd like.
Go
or-
ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I just was wondering, it's parcel 4, and it's for the one facility to be able to sell out, or the one building to sell alcohol. Will we see at this commission level, other businesses, if they might want to sell alcohol in?
Well, the amendment as drafted will apply to the parcel, not the whole subject or the whole CUP,
No,
just the
but-
parcel.
Right, but I think there are like 4 buildings on that parcel.
There are.
So that would allow all those buildings to sell alcohol?
As
that was
written
so
now, the
desired?
amendment would allow drinking establishments within that parcel. If there's a desire of the commission to restrict it only to the one building, we can make that amendment if you so wish.
That's all
Okay.
that's the only question I had.
So we will take that item on consent. And
Thank you.
number 5, zoning 2018-00016. Is there anybody on the commission that would like to hear that case? Is there anybody in the audience that would like to hear that case?
I just have a staff question.
You have another question?
I know I'm starting to sound like David Foster, but. Yeah, I noticed that when I pulled up the aerial on Google Earth, that there was I think it was Mike's Detail Shop. And I know that some of the prohibited uses on that parcel was related to vehicles. I know they're not going to be selling vehicles anymore down there. And there are a couple of other things that were included with that in the general office or office warehouse zoning. Is Mike's Detail Shop going away, or would that be?
Yeah, at my understanding, the applicant agent is here and he's indicated, yes, they are leaving the facility. And then they got other modifications going on.
Okay, yeah, that's all I had. Okay. Okay. That's all I
Okay,
had.
then we'll take that item
Thanks.
on consent. And I would entertain a motion to take those 2 items on consent.
So moved. Second.
Made the motion. Mr. Johnson, and the second was by, no, you made the motion. Mr. Green made the motion? I'm sorry.
Made the motion. I
Mr.
seconded.
Johnson made the motion.
I
Mr.
did the
Green
second.
seconded.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving on to non-public hearing items, agenda item number 6, Solid Waste Management Plan 5-year update.
Back up here.
Had a funeral to go to. Had a funeral to go to.
Good afternoon, Susan Erlenwine with Sedgwick County Environmental Resources. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment requires every county to have a solid waste plan. These have to be updated annually, and every 5 years, a more extensive review of the solid waste plan has to take place. The Solid Waste Committee has been working on this and approved it at their last meeting at the beginning of this month. I have to present it to the Planning Commission, so you can make sure that it's in compliance with the comprehensive plan. And then on June 13th, I'll be presenting this to the county commissioners. So there's a sequence that we have to do. And at the June 13th meeting, there will also be a public hearing on this solid waste plan update. State requires us to have many things in the plan. One of those is to update data since the last annual update, to look at the demographics. They wanted information on any changes in geology and topography. Well, we're not Hawaii. We don't have lava flows going across our surface and changing everything. So we simply included the information from our original plan in Appendix A on the topography, geology, and water in the area. They want a list of the current committee members, what kind of a solid waste system we have for collection and disposal of materials, and looking for the future. They want us to look 10 years in the future to make sure we have the capacities for what we expect to be produced in our area. So I'd like to briefly review that information with you today. First, as you already know, we have 20 incorporated cities, 26 unincorporated townships, and our population, according to the information we have, is expected to grow to almost 532,000 citizens by the year 2030. So that's what we'd be looking forward to in the future. We have 18 licensed businesses collecting municipal solid waste at the residential areas right now. And that number's been pretty steady over the past 10 years. Some new companies come into business, they're bought out by the bigger companies, others come in and take their place. So that's been pretty steady. We also have communities that have contract or franchise for trash collection in those cities. There are 14 cities in Sedgwick County that have some sort of contract for collection. Some, like Derby, have one company that collects trash in the entire city, and that contract is renewable. Others, like Wichita, has contracts with every individual haulers that require the haulers to provide 2 levels of trash containers and curbside recycling. The citizen then picks which hauler they want. So they vary from one community to another on how they do it. There are 6 cities that have no contract, and those are listed, and those 6 cities represent 5.6% of the population in the county. Because of this, the committee decided that there was no need to change the current wording in our solid waste plan. What the commissioners have is encouraging the free market efforts as far as collection, allowing people to pick who they want to collect their trash. As I already noted, though, some cities have contracts that differ from that. On solid waste disposal, in 2017, we produced over 396,000 tons. That's a 1.3 decrease from 2016. There are 2 transfer stations that collect this material. One is Waste Connections up north at 37th Street South, just west of West Street. They have about 863 tons of municipal solid waste a day. Waste Disposal Transfer Station down south at 55th South and Hoover has about 273 tons. Both of these facilities have capacity to grow if they need to increase bay size, to take more trucks into the facility. There's no problem with that. They have the land area to do that. The solid waste from those transfer stations is taken to a regional landfill located in the north part of Harper County. It's called Plum Thicket Landfill, and they have a life expectancy of over 54 years. They not only receive trash from our county, but from Sumner and Cowley and other counties as well. The committee confirmed that they want to continue to use the transfer stations as a disposal option. Also in our plan is the ability for Sedgwick County to site a local county-owned landfill and to continue to explore new waste technologies as they're developed. And they confirmed that as well. To show you how trash has changed over time, I have this trend from 2002 to 2017 in the 5-year intervals, and you can see how from 2002 to 2007, amount of trash our community produces increase, and then we've had pretty good reductions in 2012 and 2017. So as a whole, we're producing less trash going through the transfer stations to the Harper County landfill. We've done numerous solid waste analysis which is a polite way of saying picking through other people's trash. It's not a job I'd recommend. It's quite a smelly job, and you always uncover maggots and other stuff you don't want to come across. But when we did this 10 years ago, we looked at residential and commercial waste separately, and this pie chart shows the combination. The number one item we throw away as community are paper products, whether that's cardboard, newspaper, magazines, office paper, so over 29%. Yard waste is 17.1%, more that's from the residential side than the commercial, and plastics 14.3%, so those are our top ones. This is in line with national numbers, so the Solid Waste Committee did not feel the need to recommend doing another one of these. On recycling, we have facilities plus curbside recycling where people can take material. We had over 65,000 tons recycled last year. This was a 40% increase from 2016. And looking at the numbers, again, over time, you can see a steady increase in the amount of trash, looking at 5-year intervals that we're recycling, so that's improved quite a bit. The drop-off recycling bins, you may recognize these that were in the Dillons around our community. Those were stopped. They were paid for by Waste Connections. Dillons allowed them in their parking lots, but due to people throwing trash in these recycling bins instead of recyclable materials, that caused the whole bin to be thrown away instead of recycled. Plus, people were throwing trash, tires, other large items in the parking lot around these. So both Dillons and Waste Connections agreed to stop those. Currently, there are these containers, one in Keachai behind the City Hall. There's one at Andale Co-op, and there's one up at Park City at the Leakers. So for now, there are 3 of those. Plus, people can take material directly to International Paper down at 29th Street South, just west of West Street, and Pro-Kansas Miller Recycling Center. And there are other businesses that take recyclables, and those are on the Sedgwick County website. By type of material, people can research that. Composting is done at 2 facilities. You have Evergreen up at 53rd Street North, west of Broadway, and at Brooks Construction and Demolition Landfill, they receive composting material. Just over 4,000 tons received at those 2 locations, plus some of the smaller cities like Hayesville will take material from their citizens, compost it, and have material available back to the citizens. Household hazardous waste, the county owns a facility at 801 Stillwell, and it's open Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5, and 9 to 3 on Saturdays. We had over 26,000 people come to the facility last year, and we took in over 1,300,000 pounds of material. So we have a lot of material coming in. We recycle as much as we can, or have it properly destroyed if we can't. We also work with the DEA on their drug take-back programs. We had one recently on a Saturday. We have a swap and shop area inside the building. The lower left photo shows part of that, where if material comes in that is good condition, and we can give it back out, we put it in that area. Citizens can come in, take the material for free. So the citizens benefit because they're not paying for it. County saved over $127,000 in disposal costs through the swap and shop last year, so we're benefiting as well. And we have remote collection events. Just this past Saturday, we had one out at WSU Metroplex on 29th Street North, and we have 4 more coming up in June. So we're trying to take it out to the community as well for people who can't come up to Stillwell during the days. We also work with businesses who create a small amount of hazardous waste. By coming to our facility, we do charge them, but they get our cheaper bulk rate contracts pricing, and it's much cheaper for them. So, and we're working with more and more businesses, 17% increase from 2016 to 2017. And again, you can see an increase here on household hazardous waste in volumes is the blue line, and in the swap and shop. So we're constantly improving and bringing more people in. And here's the trend for the number of customers. So we're doing pretty good and trying to get the word out there. Construction and demolition material, there's 2 facilities that take that material. Brooks C&D landfill up on West Street, just north of K96, and 37th Street North, just west of West Street, is what's called CDR North, and those have seen a decrease in material. Both of them have about a 20-year lifespan left on them, so we'll be looking at this in the future to make sure we have capacity for construction demolition material, such as drywall, roofing, 2x4s, carpet material, for cheaper disposal than at the transfer stations. And the trend you can see is kind of up and down over time, and I think that's a reflection of the economy. Is the building industry going well? You're going to have more material generated. We also provide bulky waste coupons. We'll be doing that again this year, starting in August, where citizens sign up for this. We issue them a coupon, and it's good for up to 1,000 pounds of free disposal at one of the 2 transfer stations. So far, we've issued over 38,000 of these coupons. Over 14,000 have been used. People tend to get it because they think, I may need this, I may use it. Then they never do, but we try to get them used. We also have a storm debris plan. It was Appendix C that the commissioners have approved for working with small communities and making sure everyone has equipment. Recently, the county bought the tub grinder you see on the bottom left and the air curtain burner on the bottom right to properly dispose of storm debris. Those are portable, and the tub grinder has gone out to small cities to help them grind up ice damage material or wind damage. Mulch is then left for the citizens to pick up. We have 22 Christmas tree sites around the county. The county pays for these, whether they're in the city of Wichita or in other small cities. We've received over 4,400 trees last year. We chipped them, and the chips are available for people to come and pick up for free. We constantly get calls that time of year about, have they been chipped yet? Because people really want these chips. And special cleanup, we work with townships, providing no dumping signs, cameras to help them if they have illegal dump sites, and we help pay for the cleanup. The township provides the labor, we pay for the disposal costs of illegal dump materials. Since we started doing this in 2002, we have paid for over 1,744,000 pounds of illegally dumped materials out in the county. And we have a dead animals program. Whether it's roadkill, we work with animal control on that, or I've been called from the state saying, animal parts are floating in the Nenaskaw River, help us get rid of them, and so I have to get special waste permits through KDHE and the Harper landfill to have those collected and taken down there as special waste. We've provided waste tire events, starting back in 2000. As you can see, the last one was in 2017. I'm planning for another one in 2019. Last one, 101,000 tires. And what I like is the fact that we started high, but we've been dropping off. Tires out in the community collect water, great mosquito breeding grounds. It's good to get rid of them. If we do the event too often, though, some people like to just store them up till we have an event. So it's kind of a tricky thing on how often we have it. But you can see, since we started, over 835,000 tires have been collected. Electronics event. We just had one this past April. We had it for 6 days, a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the next week the same thing, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We limited it to computers and computer accessories, mouses, keyboards, anything you could hook to the computer. Same with TVs, any TVs. We had over 536,000 pounds come in, and that was from 3,874 vehicles. It was well received, and believe it or not, it snowed that last day on the 14th in the mornings. It was very cold, and that was our busiest day. We actually had cars lined up on West Street. We had this out at the County West Yard. We do have companies that take care of medical waste. They work with the dentist's office, veterinarians, doctor's offices, hospitals to take the red bag material and have it incinerated. What I'm recommending to the commissioners for next year is to buy these prescription drop-off boxes, work with police stations around the county to put those in the police stations, and then we'll pay for the disposal. But by doing this, we can take controlled drugs, the opiates. We can't take that at our household hazardous waste. You have to have law enforcement involved. But we can take normal prescription drugs at HHW, but not controlled. By doing this, we can take controlled drugs. Talk to commissioners, and they're on board on this. So I want to start this program next year. We have public education where we have magnets, pamphlets, other information. We go to trade shows, out to schools, and any sort of civic group we give information to. Also on the county's website, sedgwickcounty.org, we have a recycling guide where you click on the type of material you're interested in recycling, and it takes you to that information. And something the state requires us to do is anyone who wants a solid waste-related permit or a grant needs to go through the Solid Waste Committee. In the last 5 years, we only had two. One, the state's cut back on any money for grants, so that's not an issue. And permits is normally changing a location or expanding an area. So we worked with two of those since 2014. Solid waste fee is $5.88 a year per residential property. Business properties range from $4.44 to $7.87 per year. And that goes to pay for all of these programs I've been talking about. Commissioners will look at that on June 13th of this year to determine what the fee will be for the next year. And looking at projects, we work with storm events, waste tires, e-waste, special cleanups. So I work with MAPCD on any issues with a home that needs cleanup around it. The people are willing, but they don't have the money. We provide the dumpsters for that. Work with a hoarding coalition as well. Same thing, we provide the dumpsters if they have friends who would do the labor, get a church group together. And that goes a long way because those dumpsters can be $400 to $1,000 depending on how much trash. So we try to do cleanups. We've done some in townships. Looking at another tire waste event next year and maybe a smaller e-waste event and the pharmaceutical drop-offs. So a lot in the future. And when we do this to the commissioners on June 13th, there will be a public hearing, and it was just announced yesterday in the official newspaper. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions and request your approval that this conforms with the comprehensive plan. At least it doesn't go against it.
Okay?
Only question is the demographics that you presented in this match the demographics for the comprehensive plan? Especially growth over the next.
I can double check that. We got it from the census data.
We would have to look too. I don't know off the top of my head.
All I'm trying to say is if
The number, you're talking about the 531,000 by 2030, that's,
the growth rate is.
that's in the ballpark, yes.
Mr. Foster, you have a question?
Couple items. I do want to thank you for making solid waste management interesting. The plan here it's very concise, straightforward, well-written information. So again, thank you. Two questions.
Okay?
On page 3, where you talked about waste analysis, I am curious, larger communities, you said it was 10 years since the analysis has been done. Larger communities, how often would they do such a study?
It varies from communities. A lot of them may do analysis every 20 years or so. The main purpose of an analysis is if you want to get businesses to come into your area. And we've worked with this too, where some plastic manufacturers wanted to know how much plastic are we producing in our area and by what type. Is it the number 1 or the number 2? Could they use it for plastic lumber was actually the case. And they need to know what the source of material will be and are we producing enough for them to come here. We were not. But that's the sort of information we're looking at with an analysis is how can we cut down on it or how can companies use that material?
And just one other question, it's on page 6, the disposal.
Yes.
You mentioned Solid Waste Management Committee reaffirmed commitment to transfer stations. Could you explain a little bit further the last item there? Also reaffirm their commitment citing a local county-owned landfill.
Sure.
New waste technologies. I'm just curious of a timeline, perhaps.
When Brooks landfill, any landfill has a life limit because of the amount of material, the height that they are allowed to go to by the state, and the slope they need for a proper runoff. When they reached their life limit, they asked for another 5 years extension, and that extended Brooks into 2001. So they knew Brooks landfill had to close in 2001. A debate happened at that point. Do we have another landfill in our community? Do we have trash burned to make energy? Or do we have transfer stations? A lot of people, especially the public, wanted the waste to energy, burn it and make energy from it. The price would have jumped up to over $100 a ton back in 2001 if that were the case. So it was decided on transfer stations, which are about 10 to 20 acres each, where a landfill is hundreds of acres. And nationwide, because of the stricter laws on landfills, the price to build a landfill is high. The not in my backyard syndrome is very high. Nationally, we went from over like 8,000 landfills down to like 1,500 landfills. So they became larger regional landfills that were built. After we had the transfer stations for a while, they said, should we have a landfill or not? And commissioners at that point said, let's leave the door open. And so the door open was, if it was a county-owned, may not be operated that way. You could go out for bid to have someone to operate it, just like Brooks landfill was. Landfill, it should be there, as well as keep looking at new technologies such as waste to energy, and could we include that? So it's more of a, we're not shutting the door on this, so that's why that statement's in there. The fact that the transfer stations still have plenty of life left in them and expansion room, and that the landfill that the material's going to has 54 years of life, that's why the committee's reaffirming, yes, let's keep doing that, but don't shut the door on everything else.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to agree with Mr. Foster. You are a very pleasant trash talker. I just have one question. The annual residential base rate is going to increase to 588?
It did that last year.
From what?
It increased last year from 488 to 588. So whatever the commissioners do this coming year is up to them on June 13th. And the reason that increase was done was so we could do the electronic waste event. You never know on any of these events how much material is going to come in. When you go out to bid, they give you a price per pound. So how many pounds comes in is going to affect the final cost. And you want to make sure you have enough money to cover that. And one other thing I'll say, solid waste fee can only be used for solid waste. It cannot be rolled into the general fund. So any that's left over at the end of the year can go to projects the following year or help lower that fee the next year.
Reassuring, thank you.
Mr. Warren?
Got a few questions. How many, do all of our curbside contractors that pick up trash, are they required to provide a recycle pickup option? Is that a requirement for everybody, or is that?
From the city, in the city of Wichita, the contract they have with the haulers is that they must provide 2 levels of trash container, a larger and a smaller one, and they must provide curbside recycling. You can pay extra for that, and that doesn't mean they have to do it. They can subcontract to a smaller business that only does curbside recycling. Now, that's the city of Wichita. Derby, when they went out to contract, they said that the hauler itself provide curbside recycling and 2 levels of trash service. People in Derby their bill dropped almost in half, including recycling, when they went to this, because the hauler's picking up every house on the block. It's more efficient, less gas, less time than picking up one house on a block, driving to another block, picking up your next customer.
Another question I have with that is, what are we doing to promote recycling?
We are going out and giving talks, have the information on our website, having events like the e-waste, where the company we chose for the e-waste event is a zero landfill company. Everything was recycled. None of it went to China, by the way. We made sure that it was all done on this continent, and that the material from the plastic or the wires in the cable, all of that was recycled. So by having events like this, we're trying to promote recycling. And it's up to the haulers themselves to advertise their curbside recycling. The City of Wichita has it on their website. If you go through Public Works and get to that area, they have information on that. It may not be easy to find, but it's there.
And my last question is, and I'm sure you think about this a lot more than I do, but 54 years is a long time. But the question I have is, what are our grandkids going to be asking 50, years from now and saying, what were our parents thinking about when they did this? What is it that we're doing wrong that they're going to look at and says, that was crazy?
Really, and I also teach at WSU and Friends. One of the things I talk about is the population growth and the use of material and how it's finite, and so that you can see how much aluminum we've used over time or other material. If you recycle it, you're using less water, less energy, and less of the raw material by doing that. We should be not filling up a hole in the ground, but should be taking the material and reusing it for better use. We try to get that message out, but it's difficult.
Thank you.
So I just want to make one comment. It's not really a question, but I have concerns about recycling overall. I know that my husband and I have been avid recyclers for many years, and with them removing the bin at Dillon's, it's made it just seems very difficult here to recycle without paying an additional expense to our trash hauler in order to recycle. And I'm wondering how many other people don't recycle just because it's so difficult to do it here. And my husband, after many, many years of us recycling, we've quit. So
I appreciate that because EPA's done studies, and the easier you can make it to recycle, the more material you would get. So I've had people come to some events and say, well, I just moved here from California and we don't pay for trash there. Well, yes, you do. They're not doing it for free, but it's not like it is here where you're paying a monthly bill or a quarterly bill and you're seeing it all the time, or recycling's laid out as a different item. It's bundled together, whether it's on your property tax, which communities do, or whether it's a separate utility bill. And if it was all bundled together, so people say, hey, this is the material, I can put it out easily. And that's where the contracts come in, where the cities that are doing that, if you're recycling or not, you're paying for it. So in a lot of the small cities, that's what's going on. That is in your bill anyhow. And people say, well, I might as well recycle then. And then I have people call me saying, I could do trash pickup every other week and recycling weekly because most of the material goes in the recycling bin. Also, what's made it easier was the single stream recycling. Remember 15 years ago when you had to separate the paper from the plastic and the glass? Now that the facilities do that, it's much easier on the generator of the material, and it can be done more. So I agree with you that getting rid of those drop-offs is difficult, and we expect the number of recycling to go down because of that. And that people have an opinion that, well, they should be paying me to recycle my material instead of me paying them to pick it up. It's like, no, because recycling is commodities. They warehouse a lot of this material till the commodity markets go up and they can ship that paper out or the glass out. And they're not picking it up on your curb for free. That costs, the guy's salary and the truck wear and tear and the gas. So you're paying for the ease of convenience of them picking it up at your house. So I have that conversation quite a bit to let people know, no, this is the right thing to do, but it's going to cost.
yes, Mr. Warren.
There's a political price to pay to go into a single franchisee. Derby did it. It was a difficult price to do that. The flip side of that is recycling is extremely easy in Derby, and they do a great job of recycling. So someday other entities are going to have to take a look at that, either create several franchisees that have certain areas of town to do it, but it costs no more in Derby to have recycle. And it is single, you just put your glass, your paper, your cardboard, plastic, all in the same container. They take care of it. So it's easy peasy and doesn't cost any more.
Okay.
We need any action on this, or just?
Yeah, yeah, we need to, motion for consistency with the comprehensive plan.
I'll move. Second. I've got a question.
So I have a motion by Mr. McKay, a second by Mr. Warren? No, Mr. Johnson. Yes, Mr. Green.
Does this meeting allow for public comment?
It does.
Does. The gentleman back here had his hand up.
Come up to the podium. Can you come up, step up to the podium, please, and... It's okay. Can you step up to the podium, please, and state your name and address?
My name is Brent Kennedy. I'm at 2025 West Manel. That got reassigned, so I have to keep reminding myself to say it. And I'm actually here as the city archaeologist, so I tend to sit over and listen. But I had a couple of questions relative to that. I'll try and be brief. Is there any area in the report for potential land reclamation relative to the landfills that we already have, or using landfill in the future instead of doing, as in filling in areas for construction later on? Because I know they've done that in some municipalities. And then the other question I had was energy reclamation, like natural gas that tends to off-gas from the landfill itself.
All right, for the first question, there was a landfill down South Hydraulic, Chapin, that is now a dog park that the city has. There are many rules that federal and state has about what you can or cannot do on an old landfill. You have, you can't put trees on it. They don't want the tree roots going through the final cover of the landfill. They don't want water getting in. It's kind of an entombment. That may change. Florida's been doing a lot on what they call wet landfills, where they're allowing more water to help it decompose faster. But in our area, that's slowly happening. The Harper landfill, where our material's going, they have special permission to take wastewater from drilling wells and pump it in to help decompose faster. So that's kind of an experiment going on. But as far as reclaiming the material and taking it out, I have never heard of that in Kansas yet. There are some areas that are looking at that. But think of all the dirt and everything else you have to remove from those metals or whatever you're after. It's going to take a lot of money and energy to do that, so they have to balance it. Is it worthwhile? So not yet here, but some places are looking at that. And yes, landfills through decomposition produce methane. And at Brooks Landfill up north, they have methane extraction wells on it and had collected that and piped it over to Colwich for the old ethanol plant that was there. And I know that a new plant's being built there right now from ICM, so they may be in negotiations. I don't know, since that's a city of Wichita property. But yes, they do have the collection system in place and the pipelines to go out there to produce energy from that methane gas. And over time, that will drop off as all the material decomposes, but that is something that has been done here.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. On to agenda item number 7. DER 2018-00003, special meeting for Planning Commission on Tuesday, August 14th, 2018 at 4 p.m. Harry, do you need to talk about that?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mary Hunt, Principal Planner in the Planning Department. We're about halfway through finalizing the Wichita Places for People plan. And with that, we're now past that part where we're collecting data and getting a baseline for everything. And we're going into the part that really needs your attention. And that is, they're looking into recommendations on development form and zoning. And so we thought it would be best, rather than attaching it to a regular meeting like you normally have, and not knowing how long the regular meeting would go, that we would just set a special meeting and focus only on these issues. And so the date that was selected was August 14th, and that's the request before you, is to establish that special meeting, and we'll have no other items on the agenda, no other distractions for you. So that's the request before you today.
Warren?
How long do you anticipate that it take to go through this
We're
process?
scheduling 2 hours.
Questions? Mr. Foster?
Just to process one, will notification be different for the meeting to identify a different location?
Yeah, yes, we will. That's why we're having this, so that
Okay,
you.
just wanna make sure.
So that it is an official meeting, and we will send out, or post notice. We won't send it to anybody, but we will post notice of the date.
Other questions? This require a motion?
Yes.
Okay, so
So moved.
Second.
I have motion by Mr. Johnson, a second by Mr. Warren. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And with that, we are adjourned.